And welcome everybody to NXT. We'll be spilling the tea in just a couple minutes, but we're going to go ahead and chat since there's no power out this week since they just did a power surge promo package. And Pluggo must not have been available because we all know how Zach loves to hand off his promo package shows to Pluggo. So with no power out, we figured we'd come on a little early and talk as we go through the main event and get ready to do our show. So, what has everybody thought of the show so far? General thoughts, and we'll get into it.
Very jam-packed. It's a lot of actions, a lot of matches, a lot of kind of just exhibitions and debuts for a lot of the young guys. So it's been a good show.
Yeah. Astrid?
A lot of unnamed people week 2. No, I'm kidding.
I lost count this week. Like, I was trying to keep count, and all of a sudden, whether or not we should count people or not, or this, that, and the other, it was just tough. It was tough to keep track of them all.
Yeah, a lot of promos too, and a lot of not only promos but being backstage stuff and a lot of vignettes and things like that going on tonight too.
There's a lot of new names and a lot of people I'm excited to learn more about.
But also a lot of veterans still hanging around as potential gatekeepers and, handing off the torch and stuff. And just, it's a lot of setting up, and there's a lot of kind of multiple stories being told all over the place with different people.
Yeah. Wholeheartedly agree. We're definitely seeing that there's a hierarchy in terms of the new names. We're definitely seeing that there's some that are A tier and there's some that are lower tier. But it's good. We're getting a groundwork of divisions. We're getting a groundwork of people working in a certain space. We have a Steiner recliner. Okay.
Sort of. Pete had a knee under there.
But still, it's essentially a Steiner recliner.
Yeah. I mean, he is a Steiner.
I mean, he is. WWE ain't going to tell us it, but
that move always hurts me every time he does it.
Yeah, my mother calls Pete Dunne the finger breaker. That's the only thing she knows that he does. She's like, "Is that finger breaker?"
He could be shoulder breaker at this point too, though.
I keep thinking back. Somebody in the Stack Shop put a meme of Braun as a Beaker, and I keep thinking it's Braun Beaker, but it's not.
Yeah, no. James Vander something on Twitter, a guy I follow. I don't know why, but he's changed his name to Braun Beaker on Twitter.
Oh, we got a name for one of the unnamed ones.
No, she gave that in the promo.
I know, yeah, but I wasn't sure how to spell it, but now I do. I just want to double check it.
There's a couple that I missed names on, I'm sure.
Did anybody catch the name of the girl who fought Elektra Lopez?
Wasn't that Amari? Yeah. Or no?
No, Amari that was the one who fought KLR.
No, I didn't. I was doing other things and didn't actually catch what it was.
Anna Shear?
Oh, is that what it was? Anna Shear? Okay, cool. They said it in the middle of something else, and I could barely understand it. I listened to it like 7 times.
I took a screenshot like when her name came up just to be sure.
Slapping meat on here right now.
It really is. You know what? Besides the crappy name, this dude looks like a star, feels like a star, can talk like a star. I really kind of like this dude.
It's just the second K. Braun Breaker isn't that terrible of a name. It's the fact that it had to be Breaker.
I'll agree with that. I definitely think the second K hurts it. Because while Rex Steiner was a really cool name, and I wish they would have let him go with it. Yeah. I really like the idea of Braun Breaker. We have Dara Amazing in here just saying hi there, people. Hello, Dara. Yeah. We'll all be on as usual and normal when we get to it in just a few minutes. But we're just taking the power out approach and just sitting here and chit-chatting.
We can break that down at the end of the show, but hot damn, that's a surprise.
Oh, and here we go with another feud. Or maybe I'm just seeing what Cody caught just a couple minutes ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I might have been a minute ahead of you.
We're all on different streaming platforms at this point, it seems like.
I mean, I'm on the Canadian feed, and Ed's on a different feed, and Astrid's on a completely different feed. So,
because even when I was watching on USA, I was apparently ahead of Astrid.
Yeah,
And Dara says the same thing as some of us. He's kind of on the fence.
Yeah, I'm on the USA Network app. So
yeah, I'm on actual cable TV here. So, give it back. Give it back.
no. So sorry if I call him Bron Beaker because that's all I can picture now.
It's fine. I'm sure one of us will call him. I mean, we got another Tony D'Angelo promo, so here comes my Tony Sopranos all the time too. But again, I agree with what we were saying in our Slack chat. The three of us, unlike last week where we were talking to everybody from Love Wrestling, we literally kept it to the three of us this week, which was really fun.
Yeah.
Oh, Braun touching that title you're not supposed to touch.
That's what I was saying. Give it back. Give it back.
Oh, I thought you were talking to the dog.
No.
I legitimately thought he was talking to his dog because his dog was playing with the pineapple earlier.
Come on, Ed.
No, she's sitting very nicely over here right now.
Okay.
Ed, are you on dial-up? Is that what's going on?
I am not on dial-up.
Are you sure?
I am not sure.
No, that's a family joke we got going on.
It's an interesting story being told here, anyhow.
Mm-hmm.
Take a walk.
I like how he looks at Goldie.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, yes, reunited. Ooh.
Oh.
All right, and it looks like we've come to the end of NXT. The raid has gone through on the channel I was watching. I mean, I was not watching on an illegal Twitch stream. I apologize. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna hit the music just one more time, just because it's fun to listen to. And when we come back, we'll have the full screen and everybody ready to go for NXT. And welcome to NXT. Oh, that's not the right background. Hold on. I like it, but it's not the right one.
Mm-hmm.
We are the stars of the show.
We are the stars of NXT, but we should probably have our.
We're the aces, remember?
We are the ace. That was fun, and Josh did raid us, so thank you first and foremost, Josh, for sending the raid. We greatly appreciate it. I hope that you enjoyed your stream. I was in there for a while, enjoying what was going on in there. So. Josh did do a live watch along with NXT, so hopefully he'll be able to give us some of his thoughts as well throughout the show. That being said, first and foremost, like we always do, we want to thank our friends at RK Athletics. RK Athletics, you can get all of your training needs, whether it be in person or online. Rich is doing great work. Rich is a fellow Canadian wrestler, so support your independent wrestling as well as supporting RK Athletics. And you can support RK Athletics on Twitter and Instagram at RK Athletics 1. I mean, you know the crew, but we'll go over it. I'm Ed. Next to me on... No.
Figure out your directions, Ed.
That way. I'm dyslexic. I'm dyslexic and backwards. So we got Cody over here somewhere. And then down here, he got Astrid. I'll figure out this finger thing soon enough.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, from the back.
I know which sides they're on.
We have Bobby in here joining us. He's got his peppermint tea and ready to listen to some expert reviews of NXT. Great show. Thank you. We greatly appreciate it, Bobby. Let's just start with our we said it a little bit ago, but we'll start with our general thoughts. This was a really fun, jam-packed episode of NXT.
Yeah.
there's a lot going on. They're trying to do a lot as they rebrand back to a semi-developmental early days of NXT. If you watch the network when it first came out in February before WrestleMania 30, this is the type of NXT you were getting then. You're getting a bunch of more lesser known, unknown wrestlers, and then you were getting some stars coming down. Hopefully, we can get to some main roster guys coming down and having some fun down here too. Parrish giving me no hope, but at least some solace in knowing that no one can ever learn how to point properly on camera, so that's always nice. Andy, thank you for joining us. Adv, I'm sorry. I did see you in the Josh's chat, so thank you for stopping by. The show started with a big promo segment, and it was a little bit long, and it started with all of the NXT, as I call them, the newbies, standing in a ring.
Before we got to that, though, I had a quick thought of just the recap package of last week.
Okay.
What was with that music?
I don't know. I don't know why they had that music in there. It wasn't the show's music, which is what they used last week in building up to this with the Fatal 4-Way. So it was definitely interesting.
It was very, like, almost cartoon, weirdly, like, happy-go-lucky, like, Super Mario beats almost for a little while there.
Yeah. I didn't hate it, but it was... Okay, let's the NXT 2.0 Wale theme is not terrible. It's not NXT and it doesn't fit the show, but it's not terrible. I love my man Wale. He does some interesting stuff. This isn't his best work. It sounds like a song that I would listen to on the beach, not in my NXT.
Now we can move into the opening promo. Sorry for drawing us off point there.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Oh, trust me, we're going to be way off topic for a lot of this show. So we start with all of the NXT new stars standing in a row. We had Brooks Jensen. We had Josh Briggs. We had Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes. We had Joe Gacy, Odyssey Jones, and Braun Breaker. I believe that was all of them.
Yep.
Most of them got to speak and stand into people's faces, which was nice. And then Tommaso Ciampa comes out. Because I refuse to spell Ciampa every time, most of my notes have Daddy written in there because he was Daddy Ciampa for a long time. So we'll just, if I slip up with that, that's why. So Ciampa comes out and says that NXT is now the A show, which I like because this is reaffirming something he said on Twitter, saying that give us 3 to 6 months and this show will be the A show. While I admire his guts and I admire his love of NXT, that being said, just dealing with WWE and ignoring the elephant in the room that might be AEW Dynamite. Let's ignore Dynamite for now and just leave it in the realm of WWE. SmackDown is a hell of a good 2-hour show. Most weeks it's very enjoyable. It's got a lot of Roman Reigns, which I truly enjoy. We have Ella J stopping by. Hello. We have Bobby saying that Parrish is jealous that he can't use the Wale theme as his own entrance theme. Ella, we're doing pretty well. We all enjoyed a very jam-packed NXT 2.0 tonight. I've given up on the not saying it. I'm gonna lean into it. It's 2.0 and I like it. My notes literally have NXT 2.0 v 2.0. So I'm leaning into it. And the Braun Breaker name is better than the Wale NXT 2.0 theme. All right. Oh, we got Rye Levy in the chat, so this is very good. Rye. So we got a bunch of friends of Love Wrestling in the chat tonight, so this is very nice. We're only ignoring Dynamite solely because I don't want to get into the argument of whether or not SmackDown and Dynamite, which is the better show. Because I feel like that argument could take up the entire hour and a half that we have.
The war report is done. It's no longer a war, so Dynamite does not exist to those of us at NXT.
That being said, I like that he's trying to make a point that NXT isn't going to be a downgrade just because it's being rebranded. I like that. I really enjoy the fact that Tommaso is we are NXT. The whole point of this promo was that the guys in the ring are NXT. He is NXT. He singles out the announce crew and the ring announcer. They are NXT. And then he goes back to the crowd. And that's really, really nice that he brings it back to the crowd, considering his theme music for a long time, when the best portion of NXT was literally the crowd chanting, "We hate that they hated him," and "Screw you, Ciampa," and all those wonderful things after he turned on Johnny Gargano. So to see it come full circle and to have him be like, the crowd is NXT, is trying to bring back that fan base that fell away from NXT as Dynamite and NXT were running in close comparison in venues. Because if you watch the Dynamite crowd when they were having those limited shows, you saw a lot of NXT crowd regulars in those crowds. Most notably, Izzy is in that crowd. I've seen the blue shirt guy who held Rhea Ripley up on his shoulders when she won the NXT Women's Championship. I've seen him over there as well. Lots of people have done it, but I like that he brought it back.
So I had a thought about just this opening part of the segment there.
Yep.
And I wanted to ask for your guys' opinion here live. Do we think, if Joe hadn't got hurt, does Joe run this same kind of segment today?
I think yes. I think it feels entirely different, but I do think that Samoa Joe cuts a very similar promo of "We are NXT."
Astrid?
But I think I just think it means more coming from Ciampa. But Astrid, yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like I see Joe kind of like a monster-ish type of person when you look at him in the ring, like the last promo that he did as champion. So just like, it didn't seem like a, "Hey, welcome guys," sort of like atmosphere. It's just like, "I'm here to kick your butt," and you know that sort of like attitude. So I don't picture him being like all friendly-ish like that to the audience. I kind of see him dropping maybe a line or two, but not like the whole promo the way Ciampa did, though. That's the only part of it. I did like how he said, like, "You guys are like the soul of this place." And it just reminds me back in those days when I was there for the tapings, because the atmosphere was so different. And I feel like it's going back to that.
Yeah.
My thought with it was that the promo we saw from Joe at the Performance Center, where he kind of gave that, "I'm here to break in the new guys and be the champion and move things along to that next era," it felt very similar to this in a way that I could have very well seen Joe running a very similar promo. Different words, maybe, different attitude about it, but a very similar, like, "We're all NXT. These guys, yeah, they're new. They're just breaking the ground into the company here. They're still NXT."
Yeah. And speaking of people just breaking into the ground, Tommaso Ciampa singles out a couple people. First, he singles out Carmelo Hayes. He gives a little nod to Trick Williams, but this is all about Carmelo Hayes. And he talks about how, he's worked his way up. He's got that contract. And, you start seeing, light bulbs, flashing in Carmelo's eyes as he's just staring at Goldie and then looking up at Ciampa a couple times. Then he goes over and he talks to Odyssey Jones. And then he ends up with Braun Breaker. And then he goes back to start cutting the rest of his promo before he is interrupted by Cameron Grimes, which was nice. And then Joe Gacy cuts off Cameron Grimes as Cameron Grimes talks about taking the NXT title as the fuel to get him to the moon. We have Parrish coming in. Joe would have, but it would have felt more authentic because Joe is a different class of performer. We'll get back to that, I think. We have some other friends in the audience. Prairie Pro Wrestling telling us all to have a great show. Thank you again. I believe that this Bobby again. Does anybody wonder how TakeOver will look like? We don't have any word about a TakeOver, so that's going to be interesting as to whether or not it is a TakeOver. But we'll get to that when we start getting word of a TakeOver coming. So we have Joe Gacy cut off Cameron Grimes, who is then cut off by LA Knight, who gets cut off by Odyssey Jones. Yes, this was a very quick segment where a lot of people started to try to talk and people shut them down, and then somebody else came out. We then get Odyssey Jones with my favorite line of the night, when LA Knight says that he had the title in his grasp and he was about to win it. And Jones goes, "Who the hell are you kidding? You lost twice in the same night." This one thing was only made by one Wade Barrett joke later on. That might be line of the night, but we'll get to that when we get there. Odyssey Jones is cut off by the music of Dunn and Ridge, and they start talking trash about Ciampa and about the new guys, and they're eyeing. And I thought this was gearing up towards Brooks and Jensen taking that shot at them, but however, it wasn't Brooks and
Briggs and Jensen.
Briggs, yes, Jensen and Briggs. Oh, so many new names. So many new
JBBJ. Names. That's how I have them written everywhere. It's JBBJ.
But then Ciampa throws the first punch, and a huge brawl ensues, and people come out from the back. I heard the name Duke Hudson. I lost track of how many people were in the ring.
GYV and Duke Hudson were the two that they mentioned for sure that were out there. I couldn't keep track of anybody else that popped up.
Yeah, I saw them too.
We have a bunch of talking in the chat with Prairie Pro Wrestling and Parrish trying to get some business done. I'm sure they will go ahead and take care of that in the DMs, as Parrish says. So we'll move on from that. But the brawl ends with the last four people being our main event of the night, which ended up turning into our main event. And it was Ciampa and Breaker, and it was Ridge and Pete Dunne. So that was fun. Then, in the middle of that ending, they go, okay, we have to go backstage. And we saw Elektra Lopez, Kaylee Ray, B-Fab, and a mystery fourth person that we didn't know until the match happened as to who it was. So we find out that it was Amari Miller.
Amari Miller.
Thank you. Yes. Yep. I just couldn't pronounce it. So then they have their squabble backstage as two sets of girls just duking it out. And we go back to the ring to see Dunn and Ridge try to get back in the ring and get thrown out again. I don't know if this was bad editing or if that was just something that they did twice. But then Braun Breaker throws out the challenge for the main event where it's him and Tommaso Ciampa versus Dunn and Ridge. It's a very long segment, but it gets a lot of feuds across, and it let a lot of people get a little bit of depth. What did you guys think of the segment as a whole?
Astrid, you want to go first?
I feel like, not in a bad way, but it reminded me of like how a lot of Raw opens constantly like that, like those kind of battles, like drawing those lines to start the show. And it just like, let's not start with a wrestling match. We just start with a promo, not only like a small promo, but like a big one that turns into chaos. So it just reminded me of Raw and that type of feel. But I like how it gave us so many people at the same time that were like, okay, this one goes with this one, this one goes with this one. It kind of gave us like those views at once though. But I really liked it though.
Cody?
Was a lot going on, and I get where you're coming from, that it felt a little bit like just the highly overproduced Raw stuff, but at the same time it felt unique and a lot more refreshing and like so much to grow on, because it was so many new guys and something like you don't see very often, but a lot of different interactions and different lines crossing paths of guys who, you know, new guys who are getting in with the veterans, but also veterans like Grimes coming out who haven't really been in the scene or the picture yet. I mean, you've got now Grimes and Gacy that we got on this show. You've got LA Knight and Odyssey can be a thing. You've got Dunn and Ridge we're eyeing up, JBBJ. You've also got now GYV suddenly popped up into that picture, that maybe we get GYV facing JBBJ. Duke Hudson somehow fits in this mix. Yeah. You've got Carmelo and Trick in there still. Braun Breaker making himself known in the top of the picture. There's just so many different moving parts and so many different feuds that can come out of this one segment to take us through months worth of TV out of all these guys crossing paths.
I agree. I agree with both of you. It felt like a little bit like a Raw promo, but like Cody says, there were so many moving parts that it didn't feel like it was setting up one show. It feels like he says, it's setting up feuds for tonight, feuds for next week, and feuds for in 3 months that we might see some of these feuds culminating. It was a really, really well done version of those 20-minute Raw promos. That was really done in, I think, maybe 10. Like, it feels like a lot happened, but it happened really quickly.
Yeah.
We then finally get the match, Kushida versus Roderick Strong. I did like that Wade Barrett kept talking about Kushida having an injury and being scared to face him, when that's only because WWE refuses to let them say the words COVID, because that's what happened to poor Kushida that put this match off. This was a fun match. The ending kind of ruined it a little bit for me. Sorry, there's a little fly flying around, and it's right in my face sometimes, and it gets swung at. But it's a really, really cool, good match because these guys I don't think could ever have a bad match with each other. We were talking in the open about watching Tommaso Ciampa and Pete Dunne go together, and we could watch them face each other 60 times and never get tired of it. I feel the same way about watching Kushida and Roderick Strong. I feel like I've seen this match before, and I never feel like it's a bad thing.
At this point, I think Roddy Strong could wrestle a punching bag and interest me.
Yeah, especially with this new Roderick Strong and but in Cody, you put out before I get into the match, we're going to show you the finish. You mentioned an interesting thing when we were talking in the group chat about your thoughts on the Diamond Mine and how they come out.
Yeah, just the size of the group coming out and the entrance to tonight's show and the fact that this group has been growing, adding the tag team of the Creeds, adding Ivy Nile last week. You already had Hachiman and Malcolm Bivens there. Coming out to the ring tonight, it really started to feel a little bit like a Bullet Club or Elite level of like entrance. Like you just expect that the shenanigans are going to happen when you've got that many people coming to ringside. And I also mentioned that, I would really like if it was just Diamond Mine being that they're running a training kind of gimmick right now and training new athletes. If they're just there taking notes and next week you have a backstage segment of them reviewing what they learned from watching Roddy in a match. But obviously we got option A instead of option B in this match. So
yeah. And what he means by option A is I had said, I really like this as long as they don't get involved. Less than 2 minutes later, Malcolm Bivens puts Roddy's foot on the ropes. It was pretty much under the ropes as it was, but we'll let it slide that was a bad thing. And then as he's trying to get up into the ring and Hachiman's trying to take him down, we have the Creeds pull Kushida out of the ring, and we have a jumping Superman punch from Ivy Nile off the stairs into Kushida. Man, that felt like it hurt. I really, really felt that punch. She absolutely smacked him.
That was a better Superman punch than Orange Cassidy or Roman Reigns has ever thrown.
I wholeheartedly agree. And
that looked really good.
Prairie Pro Wrestling putting on the record saying that he likes the Creed brothers. I like the Creed brothers. I want to see a little bit more personality. But me and Bobby did have a chat about this at one point where them being just roughneck wrestlers is a personality, and I agree. I'm looking forward to seeing where they go from here. That being said, we have a new Cruiserweight champion as after Kushida gets tossed back in the ring, Roddy Strong hits the end of Heartache and gets the 3 count. Then Grayson Waller comes out during the middle of Roddy's celebration and for some reason feels like he's entitled, after losing 2 tag team matches with Drake Maverick, to a Cruiserweight title match. To which Malcolm Bivens is like, no, we're not going to do this. And Roddy's like, no, we can do this. And he's like, so Roddy starts to try to talk to Bivens, and Grayson has the greatest line where he goes, do you have to ask Daddy's permission? Which I really, really enjoyed. And then Bivens says, next week you'll find out why the Diamond Mine runs NXT. This is why Roderick Strong, who can talk for himself, needs Malcolm Bivens. Malcolm Bivens just makes Roddy better because, like Brock Lesnar, Roddy can talk but doesn't need to. What do you guys think about this whole segment, about the next Cruiserweight Championship match we're going to get next week?
It felt like I appreciated Grayson coming out and talking about how he had to defend Drake Maverick's honor after Drake got laid out and just destroyed last week. But that was by Ridge. So it's weird that he gets destroyed by Ridge and now Grayson decides to come out and call out Roddy. I'm excited for the match. I really like kind of the attitude on Grayson. I thought he looked pretty good in the tag matches that he had with Drake there. But just kind of a weird place to insert him now, to just be right into that title picture right away. And I don't think any of us expects that he's going to take the title off of Roddy 7 days after he's won it. So,
Astrid?
I like the match. I wish it would last that longer. I wouldn't mind seeing it again. But it's just like if you could have some insight into my mind when I was watching this match, when it ended, I said, I wonder who's going to challenge Roddy next. And then here comes Grayson comes out, and I'm like, no way. no way this is happening like this. And I'm like, so I guess you're the next one. They just answered my question in 0.5 seconds after I thought about it. I don't know how they did that, but I'm guessing there was somebody in the chat that was just like spying on us. I don't know, in my mind too, maybe, because I thought that was super weird how quickly they answered that question for me. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see Roddy going against Grayson next week, I guess.
NXT has infiltrated our group chat. They're reading our minds.
Yeah.
Vince is letting
Scary.
us know NXT, which is interesting. Parrish says, would like to see more backstage promos like Undisputed Era that would help develop the personalities of these young groups and teams. I really feel like tonight was the night of promos, and I felt like we really got an insight into a lot of what's going on with a lot of these talent.
It was all the solo talents tonight, though. But I feel like over the last month or so, Parrish, we have. I feel like Hit Row gets a lot of those like recording studio segments where we've really got to understand them. Legato's had a lot in the back where we've kind of got to understand them. Diamond Mine hasn't got as many, but we did get the kind of backstage training segment with the Creeds before they debuted. We've had the segments back in the Diamond Mine gym with them working out and training, and Malcolm talking up their workout regimens and stuff. So they're giving it. It's over an extended period of time, but I feel like they are trying to do that.
And speaking of promo packages and learning about people, we have Tony D'Angelo in his second promo package coming soon. And like we said in the group chat, as I keep calling him Tony Soprano just because it's funny, because he's playing a mobster gimmick. And I think the idea of a mobster gimmick is a little cheesy, especially in wrestling. Like, we've seen it before. It's never been really done well. It's been done, but it's never really been done well. And I'm just worried that it's going to just be another bad attempt at it, and it might ruin a great young talent. But I'm excited to see what he can do, because the guy has the gift for gab. Like, he can talk. I'm interested in what he has to say. I just really hope that the in-ring talent can match. And Cody, you had an interesting point about running with this gimmick as well in the group chat.
So I had a couple thoughts. First of all, I'm going to touch on what you just said, the gift of gab. It's a lot easier, I think, to have the gift of gab and to cut these promos and talk so smooth when it's a recorded segment in a predetermined location like that. We'll see how well he can actually talk when we get him on a live microphone in the CWC there. But yeah, my thought on him, the two thoughts I kind of threw out to us in the group, I honestly feel like his character would be named The Godfather if we already hadn't had a Godfather in WWE. And he's the first kind of Italian heritage character that they've tried to put out since Santino Marella's debut. So I'm interested as like a familial Italian to see how they actually play that out in the future.
I think he's going to be interesting. I'm excited to give him an open mind and to see what happens. Asher, did you have any thoughts on Tony's promo package?
Yeah, Mike, I'm interested. I just want to know what he brings to the table when we see him probably like backstage interviews and ring things like that, and who they pair him up with as well, because we don't know who he's going to face when he comes in either. Yeah.
And so now comes the trend of the night that I didn't like, and this happened throughout the night, and I really hated it. We got an entrance for Kaylee Ray, and I'm like, all right, we're going to have Kaylee Ray versus, and then I had to wait because when we came back from commercial break, we had a promo package instead of finding out who Kaylee Ray was going to face. That being said, we got a really good promo package for Jensen and Briggs, explaining why they're a tag team. That would have been helpful last week. Mm-hmm. 2, it was actually a really cool promo package because it's something different, and it reminds me of the APA, and it reminds me of Sheamus and Cesaro, like forming the bar. That Briggs was at a bar after having lost to Carmelo Hayes in the breakout tournament, and he gets into a fight with somebody behind him, and it's Jensen, and they become friends in a mutual fact that they're beating each other up, and then how well they're beating each other up. That was interesting to me. I really enjoyed that.
Somebody can hit me a punch like that, he deserves my respect.
Yeah. Asher, did you have any thoughts on Jensen and Briggs?
You stole basically what I was thinking, because from the promo, I kept thinking that reminds me of the bar and how they started from the get-go like that. And yeah, I was wondering, I'm like, why didn't they do this last week before they introduced them? Because that would have been nice to like know their names and know why they got paired up as well. So that timing on that one, but yeah, I liked it.
I
right.
Actually appreciate giving us the in-ring before giving us the personality. And maybe I'm an outlier in that one, that I don't mind them giving us a match, letting us see them wrestle, and then the next week, okay, this is who these guys are and why they are who they are.
The only reason why it rubbed me weird is that we went into Josh Briggs going from Josh Briggs's indie persona of just being big bad Josh Briggs to being in a tag team and wearing like jeans and a plaid shirt. And it felt like a small disconnect. It's like they've changed his character, but they didn't give me a reason why I need to know that they've changed his character. And that's the only reason why I kind of wish this would have happened last week, and then we would have had their match this week. I feel like it would have flowed just a little bit better as we would have been like, oh, Briggs lost. He got down. He went to the bar, made a new friend. Now they're going to tag team. Cool, that makes sense. But again, maybe that's just me. Then we have Kaylee Ray versus Amari Miller. As I put, unknown number 8, second of the night, and Kaylee Ray wins quickly. There's really not much to talk about here. Amari Miller came out. She got her butt whooped. She looked all right in defeat. Kaylee Ray is a star.
I was definitely expecting more after the backstage fight. The fact that she actually managed to knock Kaylee Ray down in the backstage fight, and they talked her up a little bit during her entrance, but then commentary throughout the match talked about nothing but just boosting up KLR's accomplishments and her longest title reign, and how everyone she beat over in the UK, and all of everything she's done so far within NXT UK. So it was kind of obvious that it was going to go that way. It just, leading up to it, it felt like Amari should have had a little bit more going for her than just a quick 3-move squash.
Astrid?
Yeah, definitely was thinking the same thing. The moment she hit KLR that quickly, I'm like, okay, maybe she'll last a little bit longer than the rest of them, you know? Can I give her the longest match so far? And yeah, thinking back at the entrance, it reminded me of Emma with the bubbles when she first started as well. That gave me Emma vibes, and I'm like, I miss those bubbles in the CWC like that. But yeah, it just reminded me of the Emma entrance when she first started that I was there to watch. But yeah, I would just expect a little bit more from her before she got defeated though this time around.
We then had Braun Breaker cut a promo when Tommaso Ciampa comes up, and that ended pretty quickly. It was all of maybe 20 seconds. Again, Braun Breaker can at least talk. Like, it's not just a guy who looks good. The guy actually has the ability to cut a halfway decent promo. I mean, he's a Steiner, and he cuts a promo like Scott. Thank God he doesn't cut a promo like his dad. That's my only benefit. He wrestles like his dad and cuts a promo like Scott. I'm all for it. All for it.
So I had one thought that popped up during this promo. Wouldn't Braun Breaker have made an excellent tag team partner for Mojo Rawley?
Oh my God, they would have been freaking amazing. They would have been amazing. They look the same. They act the same. Throw Rob Gronkowski in with the two of these guys, and they're all hitting the heights.
Maybe he could have helped Mojo wrestle better.
Mojo can wrestle fine. Mojo just has no ability to sustain a push from anybody in the back. So Dante Chen comes out. Well, I'm sorry. We get a promo package for Dante Chen, who is unknown number 9 in the third of the night, who's about to debut. Then we go backstage, and we see I didn't know it was him, but we see him walking in with two ladies. I have written down, I think there are two of Damian Priest's old ladies that are making a comeback. I don't know. He tries to be a gentleman and let them in the building first. Somebody else tries to walk in front of them. None of us know who this man is. They never reference him by name.
It's like unnamed number 10 at this point.
Yes. So that would be unnamed number 10 or 4 of the night. Dante is a very chivalrous man, and the guy says chivalry is dead. So Dante lets the ladies walk in and then takes the guy and throws him against the now closed door and leaves him on the ground. Cool. I like that. Then we get Chen versus Trey Baxter. Chen has a really cool entrance. The music's not half bad. The entrance gear is cool. I like the golden mask over the face that he just pulls down. In this COVID environment, I like it. It makes a little bit of sense. And he goes ahead and beats Trey Baxter way more quickly than I was expecting. Astrid, your thoughts on Trey Baxter versus Dante Chen?
Yeah, I was not expecting it to be that quick. At the end, I put squash match, which is not what I expected it to be at all. I was hoping Trey would have a little bit more in there before it ended too, but I guess not.
Cody?
I think it was around this point of the night that I started thinking that this show was starting to feel like an AEW Dark.
You put that in the group chat at this exact moment.
Did I? Was it at this moment?
I think it's in that. I think it's at this moment that you put it starts feeling like a Dark.
And that's not a bad thing, because I really appreciate how Dark can jam so many matches in and still make it feel like every match matters. And that's really what I was starting to feel in this show. Zante Chen, 100% agree. That entrance looked excellent. I wasn't as sold on the mask, but he really looks the part. I actually wrote it in my notes before the match started. Looks the part. Can he wrestle? And that finisher was vicious looking.
By the way, that finisher is a recycled finisher, by the way.
Yeah.
Everybody on the commentary team acts like they've never seen it before. All three of them have, because it's the angel wings from Angel Garza.
Yeah. But the way he rolled, like from an inside cradle, rolled back out of the inside cradle and had it in the package suplex to the angel wings, that just looked sick how he managed to hold that all together and drop them.
I agree. And if that's how he gets into it 9 times out of 10, I'm going to be impressed. Like if it doesn't start like a normal suplex like Angel did, and it feels more like an out of nowhere type of move, that'll be great. But I did like how all of the commentary pretended that they don't know who Angel Garza is and that they've never seen this before.
It's like a weird Dewdrop.
Yeah, with Dewdrop and how nobody's ever seen Piper Niven perform.
After Garza and Carrillo literally just debuted a new tag team this week.
Yep.
Thank you.
So now we go to commercial, we come back, we have a backstage segment with Andre Chase. And Andre Chase is hosting Chase University, where he has a bunch of random people that we never see the faces of, and we only get one name of, and I'm not calling Steve Unknown number 11, because I don't even think he's part of the team. I just honestly think he's some random guy that they have in the production crew. But he talks about how Odyssey Jones made a fool of him last week, and so now he's going to make a fool out of Odyssey Jones by showing Odyssey Jones's failure to be able to beat Carmelo Hayes in the breakout tournament. I like that they're giving him a direction and a reason. Look, Odyssey Jones made a fool out of me out of my unknown spot in the wedding last week, which, by the way, ties into the wedding as to why that segment was now even better, because we have that piece tying into this and another piece that happens later. Then Steve, or as I have, Guy asks a question. I was on the phone at this point, so I don't know what the question was.
Didn't Odyssey beat you in the first round of the breakout tournament? It was his question.
Okay.
And Chase went nuts, clearing off his desk and throwing chairs, and
it was fantastic. And at this point, I thought it was funny that Astrid posted from Fightful Select that Vince is going to have more edgy content on NXT 2.0. And I'm like, I wonder if the two things are linked. That being said, I don't feel like we've seen so much of Vince's hand on anything 2.0, because the only real change that I've seen, other than the visual change, which is way obvious, is the fact that we're debuting and enhancing the talent, the younger talent. I don't feel like we've lost any of that NXT Wrestling Matters feel. We don't have the main roster gunk of like constantly having the same people like losing all the time or constantly showcasing the same people. We're getting a bunch of stories packed into one. I really think it's been a good transition so far, but only time will tell as to how much Vince's fingerprints are on this new thing. And yes, as Parrish says, Kevin Dunn has been backstage more than Vince, and I agree. After having watched the production of all of these shows, it's a bunch more camera cuts than I'm used to in my NXT. We then have, that was the first hour of NXT. I put in my notes, hour 2 starts. We have Joe Gacy, and this is where me and Cody in the chat go, oh no, this could be bad. We have Joe Gacy talking about the ring as a safe space where he doesn't need to use his white privilege. And I went, oh no, I'm worried.
His white privilege, and he also had something in there about his masculinity. And
yeah, it's I'm okay with it. I'm willing to see where it goes, but this could get interesting real fast and not in a good way. That being said, he has a really good showcase match where he is the one being showcased against Cameron Grimes. And I thought, wow, this is interesting considering that we had all the emphasis on Cameron Grimes basically almost challenging Ciampa in the beginning of the show. And I'm like, oh, they might have Gacy beat Grimes here. That'll be cool. And then out of nowhere, Grimes hits the cave-in like an RKO out of nowhere, just automatic, just boom. Pops it off and gets the 3 count for the win. Cody, what were your thoughts on the match?
I actually really enjoyed the match. I got some serious vibes out of Joe Gacy that I could see him developing very much into a big boss man type character. That was really who he reminded me of with his in-ring actions, and even just like his ability to portray that character, that he could be a solid enforcer, like almost a right to censor kind of thing, but playing along that line between a right to censor and kind of a police officer, big boss man type. So I really liked the character work, the ring work. Like we said, the gimmick itself is concerning because it is WWE telling it, and they're telling it from a perspective that this is a Gen Z cancel culture type character who's a villain. And I don't know if that's the way you want to go with someone as a villain right now, since that's kind of the way culture is moving, is to be a lot more accepting and tolerant. So it's wait and see on it. But I definitely am wary of where they might take this in the future. I would much rather see it go the way of him being in a feud with Cameron Grimes. You could take it in the way of him, trying to tax the rich and saying Grimes needs to give his money back to help with underprivileged wrestlers and something along those lines. But who knows? We'll see. It's still early. It's a first appearance on TV for him. He looked good in the ring. He sounded good with conviction on what he was saying. So I'll give it its time.
And we have Prairie Pro Wrestling in here talking about how it's nice to see somebody be a heel and actually own it. It's an easy way to get nuclear heat, and I agree. After this match, Gacy tries to hug it out with Grimes, and Grimes really didn't seem to like it. Astrid, your thoughts on the Joe Gacy, the whole thing, and what we have looking forward between Gacy and Grimes, because I think this could be more.
Yeah, I like how they delivered the promo. He seemed really confident on the mic, which I like that part. It's just like I was concerned about how it was going to go and the direction of that promo together. I'm like, let's see how that goes. But I'm going to give it an opportunity, go with an open mind and see what happens next time. But yeah, I don't know how I see him with Cameron just off the bat like that. I like the match though. It was really entertaining. But and then the hugging part at the end to see him, like Cameron's facial expressions really sold me on that part. But yeah, just to see how they interact with each other, because obviously we have seen Cameron more like comedy type of stuff lately. So just to see him change that a little bit against him, that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. And Parrish brings up that WWE needs an MJF type heel, but in order to do that, they have to actually let them go past the lines. I mean, if we're talking MJF, like, no, do we have anybody who pushes the line of decency like MJF? No, I don't think there's anybody in wrestling that pushes it the way he does. Like Ector Guy says, that he doesn't see that happening. That being said, I mean, The Miz is definitely an MJF-style heel. LA Knight is an MJF-style heel. They've got guys kind of ready to go that could do that.
NXT has done it in the past, though. Kevin Owens was very much MJF before MJF got to where he is.
Agreed.
That he lived and breathed that character down in early days of NXT, that he was that heel that everybody hated up until the time he came up to the main roster and kind of flipped sides.
Yeah, because anytime that you're wrestling John Cena, you're automatically the face.
Yeah.
Regardless what WWE tells you. That being said, we get a wedding recap after this, which was fantastic. It was great to relive the Index wedding. They had all the best moments in there. It was great. They had the hatchet. They had Ika Manjiro. They had Andre Chase. They had all kinds of good stuff. It was great.
We did quickly jump by a couple medical updates they did before the Grimes match, though.
I was going to bring that up, too.
I did miss this then.
They gave the medical update on Kyle O'Reilly that his ribs were re-injured in that backstage fight last week, and he'll be out for a while. Wink, wink. And they gave an update on Triple H's medical condition and a shout out from him to HBK backstage and all of the team that are running the show in his absence, which I actually found ironically timed to when you brought up the talk of Kevin Dunn and Vince there, Ed, is, I think HBK deserves some credit on what he's doing backstage in Hunter's absence as well. And, we don't know who's has as much of a hand in what pots right now, but I think Sean being back there is probably really, really good for keeping Hunter's influence around while he's absent.
Absolutely, because at least with Shawn Michaels, you've got a guy who everybody in the company, top to bottom, whether it be Bruce, Vince, Kevin Dunn, none of these guys are gonna really throw any shade at Shawn. They all love him, they all respect him, so I feel like they can all work well with him. And I agree. I think that's a big reason why NXT 2.0 still feels like the NXT that we're given in the past. Paris jumping in, talents are now given the okay to call Triple H as they were previously not to. That's nice to know. I'm glad he's getting better. I'm hoping to see him back running the show soon. It felt weird to have a rebrand of NXT and not have Triple H out there to start the show. So, hopefully when he comes back, we can get him on screen in a Seth Rollins style suit with all kinds of colors on it. I think that would be fantastic, and I want to see the edit of that because that would be great.
Can he completely shave the beard off Seth Rollins style too? Or Seth Rogen style?
We can do that if we want to do Seth Rogen instead of Seth Rollins.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys missed it, but we're getting the honeymoon next week as well.
Yes. We are getting the
Index honeymoon.
which prompts Wade Barrett to make one of the best jokes of the night. Vic talks about how we finally heard the first words from Dexter Lumis, to which Wade Barrett responds, "It's great that he's getting oral skills in before the honeymoon." And I burst out laughing, and my mother had no idea why I was laughing. So I replayed it, and she still didn't get it. And I went, okay, we're moving on.
Not a conversation to explain to your mother.
Yeah. Did he come out as the Game 2? I would love it if he called himself the Game 2.0. That would be fantastic.
The King of Kings 2.0.
Yes. We also then get the beginning of the Legado del Fantasma music as Elektra Lopez is coming out to the ring. But first, because we can't have a match without having a promo package, we get a promo package for Von Wagner. He's out there beating up a big tire. He's out there flipping tires. He's strong. We get it. It'll be interesting to see what happens from him going forward. He really showed me something in that match. I'm excited to see what happens next because he got the biggest match type feel like push out of all of the new people. But obviously that push is going to Braun Breaker. Do we think that Braun Breaker is going to actually have a match with Tommaso Ciampa soon?
Yes.
Do we think that? Okay. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page and that's definitely happening.
Yeah. Because I don't know that he wins, but I think he gets it. But how much bigger of a debut can you get than your first actual televised match being for the title?
Yeah. Well, he's had the match with LA Knight.
No, Von Wagner,
Oh, Von Wagner, yes. No, I agree. Von Wagner had a huge plus. And he was in there with guys who were going to keep him looking good. And he did, like we all said last week. Whether or not he was the guy who should have got that spot is up for debate. That being said, he took the opportunity and ran with it. He looked great. His dad trained him, obviously. His dad's a fantastic wrestler and trainer, so I have no doubt that he's going to be fine. Elektra Lopez comes out and beats an unknown. I believe it was, what was the name?
Anna Shear.
Anna Shear. Poor girl didn't stand a chance. She got absolutely power slammed and powered everywhere. Elektra Lopez wins the match. Escobar cuts a promo for her in the beginning, talking about class, sophistication, style, and
Familia.
And I think he called her hot in there too, which was nice. Good for him. He's acknowledging what at least I was thinking when I was watching her in the ring. She's a very, very attractive woman. I don't know. It is. Yeah. That being said, she then cuts a really cool promo. She talks about how B-Fab's, not ready for her. She talks about how she's going to run through the women's division. And then Hit Row comes... I'm sorry, no. Hit Row comes out, and it's only the three guys. And I'm like, oh, this is obvious. So the three guys are standing at the entrance ramp. The three guys are at the ring ropes. Elektra's behind her. BFAB comes in and attacks her. But BFAB doesn't get the beatdown that I think BFAB was looking for here. Elektra Lopez really seemed to get the better of her in this segment.
Managed to hold her own, at least.
Yeah, I called it 50-50. Nobody got the upper hand. It was kind of 50-50. And then, no, Parrish, I'm not putting that comment on the screen. I see it. We'll talk about it later. But no, because we're going to get to that. We're going to get to more of that question and that comment later on when we get to Toxic Attraction.
It's at 2.0 now.
Yeah. Anyways, what did you guys think of Elektra Lopez, her in-ring debut, her in-ring style, and her cutting a really decent promo? Astrid.
Yeah, I was impressed with the promo. I was not expecting her to talk that well, to be honest. Because I'm like, if it's Santos is already talking for you, I was like, probably she can't probably do a promo, but then she did. I was like, not bad. I like the timing though when she goes, if you don't like get your ass out here, and then the music comes up right away. I was like, I love the timing of that. That was awesome. That's my favorite part of that. But no, I like how she wrestled. I just want to see more from her already though, because I feel like obviously it was too short.
Cody?
Yeah, I thought she cut a real good promo. I think she looks good. She looks the part. She acts the part. She talks the part. I felt like her in-ring didn't look as crisp as many of the other women on the roster right now. So I think she needs a little bit of extra work. I'd like to see her get in a couple more undercard matches before getting to the BFAB feud, but unfortunately that doesn't look to be what we're getting. So we'll see how she handles it in a bigger match in the future here. That's not so much of a 2-minute squash, and see if she actually can be a little bit more crisp with another kind of equal level participant of the roster, as opposed to just a enhancement talent that maybe didn't let her look as good as she should have.
Yeah. And next week it's going to be interesting because I wasn't a huge fan of BFAB's in-ring debut last week. We had Elektra Lopez. I was a little bit more up on it this week. Cody, as he says, is a little bit more, and he wants to see more. He wants to see what happens next. Them being in a street fight next week is going to be a way for them to fight it out without having to actually wrestle, so we can kind of save them from looking too green, and we have the 6 men on the outside to kind of make sure that we're all looking the wrong way as a magician, saying here's the street fight over here, but look, here's Santos Escobar fighting Swerve Scott over here, don't look at this over here.
It also gives us that opportunity to let these women look completely bad as hell, that they can take a beating. You start throwing weapons in there, you start putting them in places where they're taking shots with all different kinds of random objects, and we get William Regal coming out and saying our 2 favorite words. War
Games. I really think we're headed to War Games. Like I said, we talked about earlier, we don't have confirmation of a takeover at Survivor Series weekend. We did get confirmation that Survivor Series is on Sunday, followed by a Monday Raw at the Barclays Center, but there's still a chance for a Saturday takeover. So we will see what happens when we get there.
I would still like to see them start moving the takeovers away from main roster pay-per-view weekends. Give them their own weekend to pay attention to, as opposed to being overshadowed by a Survivor Series weekend.
I agree. It would be nice, but at the same time, I always liked having the NXT takeovers with the big shows, because when SummerSlam was supposed to come to Boston last year before COVID happened, I was like, great, SummerSlam's coming. I don't care. I want to go to NXT TakeOver. Because I knew there was a takeover coming with Survivor Series, because it always comes. And I'm like, I'm going to get a War Games and I'm going to go. And then COVID happened and it ruined it all for me. That being said, we then get Trey Baxter backstage, and we had unknown number 6,544 come up and talk to him. They didn't mention her name throughout the entire promo. He calls her nothing. She walks over and she calls him babe, and I'm like, did I miss something on 205 Live that I needed to know or something? So this is Cora Jade, and apparently they're dating, which is great. Good for them. And Baxter's very upset that he lost his match in the way he lost it. And she's like, no, you're fine. It's great. And then she makes a weird comment that he looked like a superhero. And she gives him a real big kiss, and she walks away. And then he cuts the line out, a superhero. And I posted in the chat, has Vince finally found his Mighty Mouse? Because we've heard for years that Vince has always looked for this male, tiny wrestler who can fly around to be his Mighty Mouse. And I think he might have finally found it in Trey Baxter. However, Cody has a much different one that makes Astra do this, and that you're seeing right on screen now. Cody, what did you call Mr. Baxter?
Trey Ash.
Yes. Trey ASH.
He's almost a superhero.
Yes.
Maybe Cora can get him a costume so he can go change in a phone booth before his match, and then he'll be a real superhero.
As long as he's not a superhero in training like Rosie was for the Hurricane.
Oh
no, please. Let's not wish this on Trey, please.
Can Cora be his Molly Holly then?
Oh, I would love it. Like she looks fantastic. Like she's a wrestler. Am I wrong?
Yeah.
Like she's an actual competitor. Okay.
She kind of looks like what Liv Morgan did in NXT.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say she gives me really good Liv Morgan vibes. I'm like, oh, she's interesting. I want to see her wrestle. She looks like she could do. Like she looks fun.
Yeah, and to clarify, they're dating in real life too. It's not just like obviously like a TV thing. So
okay. So then we get Odyssey Jones coming out. We find out he's having a handicap match. But again, we can't have a match start without having a promo segment. So when we come back from the commercial break, we have Robert Stone freaking out backstage as he runs into Raquel Gonzalez. And we finally find out that it's confirmed that finally Raquel and Frankie will go one-on-one next week. And I'm assuming what will be the main event of the show for the NXT Women's Championship. Then Raquel walks away, and Frankie's standing there, and we get an unknown number 6,544. We get Lash Legend, apparently. I'm not sure how I feel about the name. I know that I don't like the fact that she has a talk show segment next week called Lashing Out. That's a really cool idea for a talk show. I don't know if it fits her. I didn't dig her promo here with Frankie Monet. I mean, if you're going to have someone cut a promo with Frankie Monet, I want her to be able to hold her own. Like, I don't even like Raquel Gonzalez cutting promos with Frankie because Frankie's just that much better at them. It's been a while since I've tuned into NXT regular, getting back into it lately. Can anybody let me know who Persia Perota has debuted? I don't know.
She might be one that we saw later tonight.
She's a Disney girl that Cody liked.
She's the one we saw later tonight that she's made mention of possibly being in the tag team scene with Indy coming soon.
Okay, so
we'll get there eventually.
She's Indy's best friend.
Yeah, she's been part of the Index wedding stuff up to this point, Prairie. Hopefully we'll see her getting into the ring in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, so basically we find out that Lash Legend is having a talk show segment next week, and I'm like, great. Now we're starting to see the main roster stuff falling into NXT. Because the one thing we've never had on NXT that I've always liked that we've never had is a talk show segment. So, yeah. And giving us a little bit of background, she worked with Indy Hartwell on RCW, PWA, and MCW. Very, very nice. Bobby always coming with the facts and giving us the knowledge about where some of these people that we may not have heard of, but might be more well-known to people who watch particular different independent wrestling. So the two people that Odyssey Jones takes on are Kari Millman and Darren Chiapetta. And I was like, great. This match isn't going to take long.
Apparently I missed those names too.
It's fine.
I screenshotted it.
I paused it on that segment. Like I went back and at this point I was catching up because I'd had to pause it to do some dishes. So I had to do some catch up. So I fast forwarded through this match. Odyssey Jones obviously doing very well. Andre Chase comes out mid-match to distract him and talk some trash, but doesn't really do much, and Odyssey Jones gets the win very easily. Post-match, Andre Chase swings a chair at Odyssey Jones, but Jones catches it, and Andre Chase runs off. Cody, what are your thoughts on Odyssey Jones as a whole, and what about Andre Chase?
I think Odyssey's slowly managing to win me over here. I wasn't huge on him during the breakout stuff, but he's got some personality. He looks like he can hold his own in the ring. I mean, Andre Chase just broke a chair over his fist and didn't even phase him. So as Odyssey went to catch said chair and the seat just kind of popped out. No, the Andre Chase stuff. I like where it's going. I actually enjoy this incarnation of a teacher-like character. I enjoyed the Matt Stryker stuff back in the day. So,
Dean Douglas, it gives me very Dean Douglas vibes.
Yeah, give me some time with it. I enjoy it. I like where this match is going, and I think Odyssey's not finished with LA Knight yet either. So I think that could play a part in him and Andre Chase here as well. But I mean, the squash is a squash. You know, they like to do that with the big guys. You're bigger, you're fatter, you've got whatever going on for you. You can fight 2, 3, 4 men like Braun Strowman used to do, and whatever. I could do without them needing to show off that the fat guys can hang with 2 tiny little midgets, but
I did get very Lars Sullivan vibes with these 2 little guys, and I'm like, oh, vanilla midgets, great. It's what they looked like. I mean,
apologies. I know that is a very insensitive term.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree, and I apologize for using that term. But when you compare these 2 men next to Odyssey Jones, I don't think either one of them is bigger than 5'6". Like, either Odyssey Jones is that much bigger than I thought, or like these guys aren't much bigger than 5'6", because they paled in like
standing next to Odyssey. They looked Casey Catanzaro height standing next to Odyssey.
We've broken Astrid. I love it.
Oh my god. I'm over here and I'm still as Casey, but okay.
But Astrid, what are your thoughts on Andre Chase and his feud building with Odyssey Jones?
I feel like it reminded me like that. Reminded me of when we saw the breaking ground at first. It kind of reminded me how it looks like in Full Sail, but I thought they ended up not working in Full Sail anymore, so I don't know where they're filmed that at now. But the Andre Chase reminded me of Matt Stryker, but also reminded me of the Timothy kind of promos before he came back now with Ciampa, like the teaching and the class and everything. But yeah, the part with Odyssey, I just kept thinking, this is squash match number what tonight? 3, 4 maybe? I lost count at this point.
2. Do we consider the Gacy match a squash match?
No.
No.
No, Gacy got enough offense in there.
4. That was 4 at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, thank you. That's exactly my point. So I'm like, yeah, there's been 4, but I'm like, obviously I like Odyssey, so I like seeing him on TV. It's just like I want to see what else they decide to do with them next.
Yep. So then we get Grayson talking backstage with unknown 7,000,005 and 7,000,006. I mean, my God, nobody on this show looks familiar anymore backstage, and it really starting to irritate me.
Well, like I said, one of those guys talking to Grayson, I thought I recognized from somewhere, but
that being said, so he's kind of, he's in there and he's talking about how great it is to have this title match and whatnot. And Carmelo Hayes comes in and is like, hey, you got your title match, but don't forget, I've got this golden ticket that I can use whenever. And then everybody else walks off, and it's just Trick and Carmelo Hayes. And all of a sudden, Mandy Rose comes walking by. And she gives him a nice look up and down, and she walks away. And JC Jane plays with the rose, the black rose, on his chest. And then It was Gigi that did that? I'm sorry, I got them confused. It shouldn't be hard to tell them apart considering Gigi's hair. Mm-hmm. But so Gigi plays with the rose, and then they both start laughing at him and walk away. And I'm like, I think they were flirting with Carmelo. I don't know. Either way, I'm into it because a partnership with Carmelo Hayes and Mandy Rose is something I kind of want to see. Especially when we get to the next segment, which is we get the Demented Brunette and the Rosebuds, otherwise known as Toxic Attraction.
But not quite yet, because we went to a commercial and a promo first.
Mm-hmm. Did we have a promo?
Yeah, we did.
I don't have a promo package here.
They got their entrance, and then we went to commercial, and then we came back to the promo from Ikemen Hiro showing off his closet full of jackets and how in Japan they're known for strong style, but he's style strong.
Yes. By the way, one of those jackets, I posted this in the group chat. He posted a picture of him on Twitter the other day. And I swear the jacket of the picture of him on the front of it looks like a picture of Spencer.
Yes.
It looks like the Spencer emote that we have. It's fantastic. I love it.
We should all chip in and get Spencer a jacket full of his own face on it.
Oh my God. Can you imagine the ego that would go on Spencer's
He
mind?
will 100% wear it for all of his hosting gigs.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Can you
I can
imagine
see
him
that.
at Can you imagine him at RCW wearing a jacket with his own face on it?
Parrish,
Oof.
let's make it happen.
Speaking of Parrish and Spencer, we do want to let people know that there is a POS show this Sunday. Check your local listings and Love Wrestling Twitter and all that kind of fun stuff to find out when, because we never know when the POS show is going on. But remember, that also means that there will be no Sunday brunch this week because POS shows always take the place of a Sunday brunch. That being said, yes, we did have the Ika Manjiro package, which I love, by the way, because I love Ika Manjiro. The dude is fantastic. I love him to death. I do love his style strong. It's cute. It's interesting.
And that he tells us that Ikemen actually means handsome man. And
Handsome
being that
Jack.
he's a handsome man, he needs handsome jackets.
Yes. This dude is literally like just so much fun, and I love it. We then get Mandy Rose cutting her promo. The line that I took from this is she came to NXT I just stole Paula Mandy there. She came to NXT to be the Golden Goddess. But then things changed when she got attacked. And then she made up some word.
She got Battersley and beaten.
Yeah. Poor girl was cutting a really good promo talking about how all the men could never be with her, but all they do is want to look at her. And she's right because she's Mandy Rose, and I've thought that since she was on Tough Enough. Um, that being said, she went ahead and cut a really decent promo. And then Gigi goes ahead and cuts a promo. And then JC Jane cuts a promo. And they all do a really good job developing their characters and explaining why they're working with each other, what each of them wants to do, and everything else. And it ends with them cutting a promo saying that they want the NXT Women Tag Team Champions. Yes, anybody other than the current champions. I don't care who.
I enjoyed the backstage segment that followed, though. I really
However,
did.
I was going to
That
say
was
the
the
exact
first
same
time.
thing. This is the first time I've ever enjoyed Zoe Stark and Io Shirai, and I think it's because Io Shirai has given up giving any crap about what Zoe Stark thinks. So they have the backstage segment lady come up to them and goes, "Hey, they want a tag team title match," and Io's like, "Yes, I don't like them. They can have it." And Zoe's like, "Shouldn't we talk about this?" And she's like, "What? Do you like them?" "No, I don't like them." "Well, then what's the problem?" Oh, it was so great. It was so. Oh my no.
And then
And
then
it's
this
Cody's
is when
favorite cup. Yeah.
this is when Persia then walks in and
Mhm.
says that Indy's back next week and maybe they want a tag team title match. That
Yeah.
so lots of action happening in the women's tag team division apparently.
And I just want to reiterate, there is no The Rest Hold this week. The Rest Hold was last week, and it was a really, really good show. There are some trigger warnings associated with it, but me, Bobby, and the Wordsmith had the live portion. We had Alex on for a little bit of stuff that was recorded earlier in the day. It was fantastic. You can find it on all the Love Wrestling platforms on VOD. Give it a watch. It's really it was a long Saturday night after doing that show. But yes, POS show is apparently on Sunday at 6 p.m.
And the Wrestle Draft.
And Wrestle Draft next week, which will be fun. Next week on Saturday morning for most people, Saturday afternoon for me at 1 o'clock, where I will be taking on both Parrish and Astrid, as I and Spencer Love will be taking on SmackDown, while Parrish is taking Raw. And our own Astrid was given NXT. I gave you NXT, and I didn't give you a choice like I did Parrish, solely because I wanted one of the two of us to have NXT, and I felt like that should go to you. However, we did do our live draft order, and our own Astrid as the first pick in the draft this week. So I'm very excited to see what happens this week in the draft. You got the number one overall. You going to give us any hints here? Where are you leaning?
No, nothing.
No hints?
No,
I mean, I'm going to
nothing.
put this comment up because Astrid is a friend of mine, and I also like all the people who comment on our show. Astrid for the win. I disagree. I will win, but that's besides the point.
Excuse you.
So after we have the promo from the three girls that they cut, which was really good. And by the way, Toxic Attraction, I love the name. It really fits this group. They've done a really good job making faction names fit lately, especially in NXT. Legado del Fantasma, Hit Row, and now we have Toxic Attraction.
Just
Very.
because JPJ will question us on it, Ed. Hit row.
I mean, I did it earlier. I'm only doing it once. My voice cracks.
I was told it's every time, so.
I know it's supposed to be every time. That being said, it's our show now, and I want to do it once to honor the tradition of Hit Row. But
It's okay. I'll do it every week in our Slack chat for us.
That's and then we have the main event, which was Pete Dunne and Ridge Holland versus Braun Breaker and sorry, Braun Beaker, and Tommaso Ciampa. Yeah, that's who he tagged with.
Daddy.
Wow, space that. Yes, Daddy. Daddy was home, and I love me some Tommaso Ciampa. I got nothing else for it. That being said, this was a great match. Again, like we said earlier, watching Pete Dunne wrestle Tommaso Ciampa is like watching a great wrestling match. No matter how many times they have it, I still want to see it. It makes me think of Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. These guys are just kind of built to wrestle each other.
Tommaso and Pete have a lot of that same chemistry that Tommaso and Johnny always had.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved me some Gargano Ciampa matches just as much as I love me some Ciampa Dunne matches. But at the same time, what we saw in this match out of Holland and Breaker, I could very well see that being the next one.
Sorry, I'm just telling Parrish no. Ash, what were your thoughts on the main event? We kind of covered it a little bit as we were coming online, but
Yeah, I think one of the highlights for me, I would say, it's when they tagged in like the new generation of guys and they faced each other in that part too, and having Kyle O'Reilly come in out of nowhere, even though he's supposed to be out for a while, meaning like 30 minutes, but okay, coming out.
Those broken ribs look pretty good.
Right. And I think he hit him with the pipe. Was it? I didn't even look at what it was. At that moment.
It's that slapjack type thing that Ridge Holland has that Ridge Holland uses.
Yeah,
it's his own little weapon.
Yeah, whatever that's called.
Yeah, I don't like to spell it. I'm sorry, I don't. It doesn't look right. My phone doesn't take it as a proper spelling either.
My autocorrect has learned how to spell it because I've spelt it too many times.
Mm-hmm. I have to add it to my dictionary. It's easier just to call him Daddy.
Or call him Tommy. I mean,
I could call him Tommy. I used to spell it Ciampa, Champia, just to make it easier for myself because that's how it's pronounced. That being said, this was a great match. I really liked it. The Kyle O'Reilly thing was a little much, but I like that it's setting up a new feud. And again, a lot of these feuds that are being set up are new blood versus veterans who have been here for a while. It seems to be the thing that NXT is doing, and I really, really enjoy it. It doesn't seem like there's a ton of feuds going on right now that are veteran versus veteran.
I mean, it was Dunne and Holland that took him out of that match last week, though. So, you know, it is a feud that makes sense. And I think we get both of those iterations of the matches coming, that we'll see O'Reilly and Holland, and we'll see O'Reilly and Dunne over the next little bit here. And then maybe O'Reilly has to find a partner to take them both on.
I mean, it'd be great if any of his friends were still here. I mean, he's got Roddy Strong still sort of in the company, but Bobby Fish is now working in MLW. Adam Cole is, come back from the dead.
Alive and well.
Supposedly. I mean,
you don't need. I mean, he broke away from UE. He doesn't need to rekindle that UE friendship. He could find somebody of the newer generation. You have O'Reilly and Dunne as the veterans, with Holland and somebody else of a newer class.
Who would you have work with Kyle O'Reilly to take on? And in this case, if we're going with veteran versus younger guy, going against Pete Dunne.
Unnamed wrestler number 23.
Unnamed wrestler number 23. That's good. I like that one. How about Tony D'Angelo? That'd be fun.
That's what I was going to say.
I don't even know how that
would
work, though.
I don't know how it would work either, but how great would it be if it was Tony D'Angelo?
I was joking. I said, what if we get Tony instead?
What about O'Reilly and Hudson?
Hudson would be good. I was thinking Willow Hayes. If I'm being halfway serious, I know that the gimmicks don't fit together, but if you're going to keep Hayes in this main event picture, what better way than to have him feuding with Pete Dunne with that contract in his hand?
Maybe.
There's a ton of ways they can go because it could be somebody we haven't even seen yet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
what about
person
Tony
who it could be Tony.
though?
Dude,
I
I'm curious as to how many more vignettes we're going to get for Tony D'Angelo. Like, I know we like to make fun of him. Oh, God. Oh, Parrish and I are going to have a long chat in Slack tonight, apparently. Oh, I love Parrish. She's great. But yes. So what, Ashford, what were your thoughts on NXT as a whole?
Like I was saying when we started opening the show tonight, a lot of promo heavy, a lot of introductions, and not so much introductions as well, and a lot of squash matches. But overall, I really enjoyed it. Though I feel like that it was jam packed, and the pacing was like last week as well. It feels like that's a new pacing for the 2.0 version. But so far, I've been enjoying it. That's not so bad.
And
Yeah.
Cody.
It's a lot of smaller segments, a lot of quicker segments. You've got those quick little promos during people's entrances. You cut to break during the entrances a lot, which I prefer that over cutting to break in the match. As much as I love being able to see people's entrances, even getting me like the opening of an entrance, cut as they're walking to the ring, come back to them in the ring as the other person's coming out kind of thing. Give me the quick segments. I'd be interested to see the timing, since that's something people like to jump on in wrestling right now, is how much time is actually spent wrestling compared to backstage, because there's a lot of matches, it feels like, but a lot of quick segments, or a lot of quick matches, but there's also a lot of backstage segments. And like we said with that opening promo, it felt like a big opening promo. Like a promo like that on a Raw or a SmackDown would likely take 30-40 minutes of the show just to get to the wrestling. And I think that one today took 10, maybe 15 minutes, despite the fact you had like 10 people talking in different points.
We apologize for Nightbot trying to yell at Perry Pro Wrestling. Don't worry. Just when you put dots in things get problematic. Yeah, no. Again, I agree. I think NXT was a pretty quality show tonight, and 2.0 has been a very interesting look back at what NXT used to be, and it's a nice little reset, and it's showing us talent that we don't know and we haven't seen. And we make the joke unknown talent and, insert number here. But it's great to see more young talent getting a chance to shine on television and get some eyes on them. It's not going to do, let's be honest, it's not going to do great in the ratings. They're not going to hit the demo. But what it is going to do is it's going to prepare these stars to be on television and potentially show us some great talent that could come up in the main roster if they get the right push. And with Vince McMahon, if it's true that Vince and Bruce have some hand in how NXT is being produced and the stuff going on, that might mean that we get better connection between NXT and the main roster, and that maybe some of these guys won't fail at the top like some of the other ones have in the past.
I don't know for you guys where it's broadcasting right now. I know, Astrid, you said you were watching on the app tonight on the USA Network.
I was watching on USA.
Yeah, up here in Canada, it's like prime time cable TV on the exact same time and channel that Monday Night Raw airs on. And so I feel like up here, at least, anyone who's tuning in Monday nights for Raw, as far as younger generations and kids and stuff, little cousins of mine and whatnot, if they're able to watch Raw, they're able to watch NXT just as easily. And I think this sets up that younger generation to see these faces on TV, get to know them, see them grow in an NXT, and then be able to recognize them when they move over. And I'd like to see them really start incorporating that as a whole, because I can't remember the last time we had shows like last week and this week where you've seen this many brand new faces on a television program over 2 hours, and it still felt really strong quality of a show, despite the fact that you only know 6 guys out of the 35 that they show you in a night.
I agree. And it's the same here. It's broadcast on the same channel that Raw is.
Yeah.
The NBC Universal package of both of them on USA. But I don't think this is, if the show is driving towards ratings, this young talent and this unknown talent is going to make ratings dip a bit more than a show littered with veterans who everybody who's a diehard independent wrestling fan, the old school NXT that we've been used to, for the past couple of years. It's going to take a hit. But as long as USA and WWE are okay with that, I love the fact that we're getting a more raw, broken down NXT.
It's an interesting kind of combination, though, right? Because when NXT first started out in those early days, it took a while before I even realized what it was or where to watch it or what it was all about. But it was kind of this niche program that I had to sign up for the network just to be able to like see what was going on there. And it was the same as what we're getting right now with a lot of younger guys, faces I didn't know, I didn't recognize, I had to learn them. And then all of these faces, they started bringing in all of the independent wrestlers, the names from the ROHs and the TNAs and all over the world, bringing them in, introducing them through NXT. They got a lot bigger overall, got themselves a TV program. Now they go back to their roots, but they still got that TV program that they didn't have originally. So it'll be really interesting to see if they can still get some people interested in like learning the next generation ahead of time now that it's a little bit more accessible than it was by having to get the network every time.
I remember for me at least, I started watching it back when they had episodes on Hulu at first and watching it on the website as well. That's how I started watching NXT. I started then watching on Hulu and then obviously then to the network when it started. But I followed it all the way through. I didn't start watching probably a little bit after the Shield debuted because I was interested in the Shield back then. So that's why I got me like kind of watching the show. And I went to like the live shows after that and to the tapings and things like that because I want to see people like Paige and Emma because I had seen them quite often on, at least on my on my screen. But no, I watch it sometimes on USA on the TV, but because I'm always kind of running around while I'm watching, that's why I watch it on my iPad on the USA Network app. But I watch it on the USA channel on my TV as well. It just depends on what I'm doing at the moment, but I use both.
And Bobby brings up a good point, and I wholeheartedly agree and confirm this. NXT 2.0 is a very early Monday Night Raw vibe to it, to a certain degree. If you watch the original programming from 93, 94, when Raw debuted, it had a very similar vibe. I agree. You had 2 or 3 matches on Raw on the 1-hour Raws that started in 93, and you'd have like one main event shot, and you'd have like Max Moon versus Shawn Michaels, or The Undertaker versus Damien Demento on these Raw shows, and it would be a squash match from your talent, and then one main event match.
Very much those early days when we saw like Jeff Hardy had his debut where he got destroyed by Razor Ramon. You had 1-2-3 Kid made his debut on there and got destroyed. Help me out, I forget who but again,
a
another
bunch of people. But then he ended up stealing the win on Razor. And it led to the Crybaby match and all kinds of fun stuff like that.
Yeah, so you see these talents, the younger talents, the unknown talents that, they come in, they get destroyed, squash matches, but then they work their way up. And early NXT, like one of the standouts for me for all this time has been when Peyton Royce debuted as Cassie in a squash match where she got destroyed by Sasha way, way back in the day. And she stood out to me even then in an enhancement role against a Sasha Banks where I'm like, that woman has talent. I can't wait to see her get a proper name and character and push. And that's what I want to see out of the new NXT is a lot of these guys, even the ones like an Amari Miller tonight, where I thought she was going to get that kind of, shining moment in that match with Elektra, but didn't quite get there. But someone like that, seeing them grow as an enhancement and then maybe repackage and come back and find their own space on the show.
NXT 2.0 is going to be a very interesting watch for the next 3 to 6 months to see what the show ends up settling into. But as of right now, I'm impressed. I'm impressed in the rebrand. I'm impressed in the love for NXT that we know, and them being like, look, we're not trying to take away the stuff you love, but we're trying to showcase some new talent. I really, really like that. I think it's going to be great.
The big thing just feels like they're trying to push towards creating and developing their own talents as opposed to the reliance on indie talents that they had. And I know it was something that was really pushed back on hard by the social media crew. And in that, we don't want you to stop bringing in our indie favorites. But at the same time, wrestling can't move forward without you developing new talent. And the reliance on bringing in known names and having them run the show has really kind of hindered the growth of some of the younger generation over the last couple of years.
They've stockpiled draft classes in those PC shots where you see everybody in the WWE PC sweatshirts. And they've released more than half of those classes without ever hitting television because they just have so much talent there. It's nice to see that they're giving some of this talent the space to breathe and the space to take a chance.
Let the Matt Blooms of the world do their jobs as opposed to bringing in guys who already know how to do the job and having Matt Bloom try and teach old dogs new tricks.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of that, we're going to start with Cody on giving our social media handles as we've hit the end of the show. So Cody, you're going to get the big screen.
You can catch me this week on Saturday evening as the AEW Weekend Elite Report team of JPJ and the franchise are doing their live react stream of AEW Rampage Grand Slam on the slot on Friday. But Saturday at 7 p.m. Mountain, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, myself and Mel and potentially Matt we'll be back doing a recap of the first week of the NJPW G1 Climax. Big news coming out of the G1 is Tetsuya Naito's injury and how that's going to affect the remainder of the tournament. Tune in here on Love Wrestling on Saturday evening to catch our thoughts on the first couple rounds of the A and B block and where we're going next. You can catch me also on Twitter at Cody Defoe, also on Switch at Cody Defoe. I will be live tweeting for the G1 on Thursday nights. I will be live tweeting Monday Night Raw every week. Give me a follow, give me a shout, talk wrestling. And back here again next Tuesday night where we spill some more tea on what's next in 2.0.
Astrid, I know you don't like the big stream. We're going to give it to you anyways.
No kidding. No, I'm going to try to be more here on the Wrestle Plug. Coordinating that so I can be there more often. Aside from that, doing the Wrestle Draft soon and obviously doing reacts on Saturdays like usual with Ed and being back here on Tuesdays. And when I'm not here, I'm on Twitter writing up, tweeting about wrestling or my book stuff. So at Astrid Bazaar, and you can follow me there too.
And of course, you can find me on Saturday with Parrish and with Astrid as we do Wrestle Draft. That will be a very exciting show this Saturday. I'm looking forward to it. We wanted to steal something from the Between Two Beards guys because they get to do all the fun draft stuff and they get to have all the fun stars. So we thought, why not just steal something for ourselves? So we went ahead and stole the draft idea. We're going to go ahead and do our WWE mock draft. We're not sure how many picks we're going to go. I think we're just going to let it be and just let it keep going until the show feels like it's hit a natural endpoint. That being said, you can also find me moderating on the Tom Collihue Twitch channel at tomcollihue.com. On twitch.tv/Tom Collihue. I'm sorry. And remember, you can always find us at twitch.tv/Love Wrestling CA. You can find us on YouTube for all of our YouTube content, which includes Josh's Legacy of, which this week was Edge, and it was fantastic. And you should go check it out because all of his Legacy ofs are fantastic. There's also Poetry of a Promo and all of our other YouTube-only content that's on there. You can also buy some stuff at lovewrestling.ca/shop. You can get those mugs, those T-shirts, those face masks, fanny packs, sticker sets. But the one thing you can't get is Parrish's Love Wrestling Elite Championship, which he has to defend this Sunday at 6. And again, one more time, you can find our sponsored RK Athletics 1. RK Athletics does great things to help us be able to do the shows that we do. We have a couple comments to end the night. We have Bobby putting us over again. Once again, great show, everyone. Thank you very much. Much love to you as well, Bobby. We're starting to get the hang of it. We're starting to get the feel of the three of us together. I need to put all of us back on screen. Why am I only on screen? There we go. I'm like, why can I not see everybody everywhere? Well, trust me, I don't want to hog no screen. Trust me, if I could be on here without the camera, I might be better.
I just want to throw a shout from all of the plugs you had there, Ed. Just so everybody knows, Twitch is always going to be the best place to catch all things Love Wrestling live. If you're not following us on Twitch, highly recommend getting on there, giving us a follow. Facebook and YouTube are great as well, but in the future, there may be some major Twitch exclusives like the Love Wrestling hosted Change the Game wrestling show October 15th, coming from the Edmonton Rec Room in South Edmonton Common. We will be live streaming that on only our Twitch channel, so make sure you're following on there to catch all of the live content that we're putting out.
Yeah, absolutely. He stole my thunder with that one. I almost forgot about it, but yes, good job. Getting that
Well,
branding out
maybe
there.
since I didn't give a preview of my draft, I will get a preview that I'll be doing a reaction for the Knockouts Knockdown pay per view right here on the Twitch channel too. So
Oh yes, and have you found yourself some cohorts for this one yet, or
I'm still looking.
okay?
If
Did
you know
did you reach?
anyone,
I know
anyone
she was
watching
here.
the show,
I know she was here earlier. Did you reach out to our friend Ella J and see? Okay.
Oh yeah. I got Ella locked down.
Okay, just want to make sure because I was gonna say I know she was here earlier, so I was like, if you haven't, she's a friend of the channel and she was here supporting us earlier today. We got Paris throwing up a JPJ. We don't need no JPJ. He's not here right now. It's just us, but we don't have any emotes for us.
Boo.
Spencer's dog. We need to get more emotes. Sub to Twitch so we can get more emote slots.
we need a teacup emote.
We do need a teacup emote. That would be fantastic.
Mr. Love, if you're watching this on replay, teacup emote for NXT.
All right.
A colorful one too.
Yeah. And with that, we're going to call it quits for the NXT show for tonight. Thank you all for joining us. It was fun doing this right after NXT. It's also fun getting out of here around 11:30, being able to get to bed a little bit earlier for some of us early risers. That being said, there will be Power Out. We'll probably be back next week, so enjoy the double feature of Power Out and NXT and your 10 o'clock, 10:35, 10:45 slot as usual for that. But for Cody and Astrid, I'm Ed. Have a good night.